Hey folks, Evan from Black Knight Games here, and today we're going to talk about how to build the Star Wars Legion B1 Battle Droids. Now, I know a lot of people who are maybe just getting into wargaming and opened this kit could have been a little bit intimidated by all the sprues, but the models themselves are actually quite easy to build despite having 8 pieces each. So, each model is going to have both legs, the torso, 2 parts to the head, a backpack, a gun, and an arm holding up the gun. These pieces are going to have a little bit of extra sprue to clean up. I'm going to point out in this video all of the different little places where you'll find those pieces of sprue. So on the torso, you can see there's a little bit on the neck and on the bottom of the torso. And we're just going to go through and clean all of that up. On the legs, you'll want to clear off the piece of sprue on the bottom of the foot and at the top of the leg. And we're just going to go through and clean up that. We're also going to clean up a couple of other pieces here, but we'll show off exactly where we're doing that. So on the gun, there's a little bit on top, and there's going to be some on the shoulder as well. Be careful with these guns. They are a little bit fragile at the one joint near the end there, and they can break if you're not too careful with them. Again, clean off a little bit of sprue on the shoulder pads there. Thankfully with these models, despite having some fairly consistent sprue points, they do have very few mold lines, so you're not going to have to do a lot of cleanup in that particular department. And they're all conveniently on the sprue. They'll have a letter and the number of pieces according to that particular letter for that drone. Here's the thin headpiece. They have a little chunk of sprue on either side. So at least in the sprue, you'll know which pieces belong to which model fairly easily. Now here we're going to show you how to just attach the legs onto this. The important part is the front-facing side of the torso is the one with the little button on the right-hand side. That way, you won't have a squad of B1s facing the wrong way. So, simply done. You just apply a little dab of glue to the... I like to apply the glue to the joint sticking out, as opposed to the little alcove where it's going to be going into. Just makes it a little easier to direct in, less likely to have some spillage when you're putting that glue on, less likely to glue your hands to the model. And we're just gonna stick that torso to the base. Obviously, if you want to do some basing and stuff before gluing the model down, you can skip that particular part. I just find it easier to glue the rest of the model together. Now, this is gonna be the hard part, is gluing the 2 pieces of the head together. I try to hold on to the end of the longer faceplate, glue the back side of it where I'm going to be putting the back end of the head, and they slide together nice and easy. The hardest part about putting these 2 pieces together is just being able to grab a hold of them because they're so tiny. But once you get those together, I tend to put them to the side just to make sure that they'll set properly before I glue them onto the actual torso. The backpack will have this little notch on the back of it, and that's going to slot right in to the back side of the torso here. There's a nice little slot for that to go into, and just adjust it so that it's properly upright and not on an angle or anything. I mean, the other good thing about B1 Battle Droids is that they're a little bit goofy in the show and all that. So if you get them a little bit wonky, it's no big deal, really. All of the guns go together in more or less the same way. You'll have this palm part that's got like one little almost finger going up, and you'll slot that into the hand on the bottom of the gun. Typically, there's 2 ways of going about this. You can glue the hand to the gun and then dab glue on each of the shoulder joints and kind of squish them together onto the shoulder joints. Or you can do what I'm doing here, glue one arm to the shoulder, glue the hand, and then fit the gun onto both sides. You can do whatever is your preference. I'll use both methods in this particular video. This is probably the hardest part of the model, is just lining up the gun in such a way that you like it. And there we go. We have more or less the full body of the B1, and then there you can see on the bottom the hand slotted in so that it's properly attached to the gun. And then the bottom of the head, now that you've put the two pieces together, has this little divot for the neck to go into. So we're just going to put a tiny dab of glue on the top of the neck there and slot in the head. And that's our first B1 done. You can also adjust the head if you want it looking in a separate way from just forward. You know, you can have it look in the way it's shooting. You can adjust the gun to make it be pointed in a different direction. But that's it. That's all it takes to build your first B1 Battle Droid. Now we're also going to go into the special builds here. I'll have the torsos and everything already built because we already went through how to do that. But we also have the leader model / the binoculars model, the special blaster, I think it's an E11 or something like that blaster, and we have the missile launcher. So going through again, there's a couple of different places to get the sprue off of. The gun on this one's a little bit different. You'll find a lot more sprue around where the handle is. The binoculars have a little chunk of sprue on either side of the actual goggle bit, and then a little bit on the end. This one, you're going to want to... Oh, sorry, and there's the very small antenna that's going to have a chunk of sprue on it as well, much like on the antenna on the backpacks. So we're going to go ahead and clean all that up. You'll see in a moment here, when you're putting the hands into the binoculars, they kind of have a weird angle going about them. You want that angle so that the arm with the shoulder is sticking away from the binoculars, with the indent going towards the torso. So you'll see it just slots in just like that, nice and easy. We're going to dab a little bit of glue onto the arm there and slot it right in. And like so, nice and easy. I'm going to set that down, let it dry, put the other arm in the other side, ready to go. Then we're going to do a dab of glue on either side of the torso and just slide those down over. This one I would recommend fully assembling the binoculars before trying to glue each individual arm to the torso. That way you can, as I glue this on here, I can adjust the binoculars up and down. You say you wanted him, looking directly through the binoculars, you can put them right up to his face, or you can have them down and him just looking about regularly. Important note on the antenna, it has this little alcove between the nub that's going to go on the slot on the back of the torso. So it's just going to slot into that little groove right there. So we're going to put a tiny dab of glue into the little alcove there, slot it on, and just adjust it, drop it apparently, and slot it on and adjust it just so that it is properly upwards and fits in just nicely. And then this antenna is also going to be a resting point for the gun. Since he's not holding his gun, it's strapped to his back. The gun has a nice little flat piece of plastic that we'll show you in just a moment that you're going to put the glue onto. So there's the flat piece. The handle is going to be facing away from the droid, so it's going to be coming out. So it's a good place to hold onto when putting the gun onto the model. Almost where the sights would be on the gun is also a nice little connector point into that alcove for the backpacks that we had before. So you dab a glue on there, dab a glue on the little slat that goes into the antenna, and you're good to go. So that's a binocular droid. Up next is the Blaster Droid. Now, important note about this guy, he has a little slot on his backpack, which is going to be for his regular blaster, because this guy carries two. He comes packing. So, there's the little slat on that one as well. clean it up a little bit. On the E11 blaster, I hope that's the right one, or else the Star Wars guys are going to kill me. But there's a little bit of sprue on the sight, on the bottom of the gun, and on the bottom of the handle, as well as on the shoulder. Clean all of those up. I personally take a lot of time to clean up sprue chunks and everything like that, just because I think it makes the model look a lot better once you actually go to paint it. You don't have all these random bumps and everything all over it. And I anticipate that these are going to be incredibly easy models to paint up, considering that they are purely beige in almost every form of media that they're in, with some slight coloring as their squad markings. So much like our other blaster, you slot it into the bottom with the one hand, and then you can glue the arms into their particular sockets. Just make sure it's all good and done. Once again, you can see just hand slides into the bottom of the gun there. Now we have the little knobby bit that's going to slide into the backpack there. A little dab of glue. Adjust it as needed. So we're just going to slide it on in there. Ready to go. Dab of glue. Always with these kinds of things as well, you'll notice I'll be dry fitting things before I glue them in. That's just to make sure that they're going to sit there in a way that I want them to, that I'm putting everything together in the proper ways, and that everything is going to work out by the time I make it more or less permanent by using glue. So it's a good method or habit to get into with almost all of your models. And last but not least, we have the missile launcher. Missile launcher is going to have a couple of more sprue bits on it, on the bottom of the arm, on the sights, and on the back end of the fin on that rocket launcher there. The other arm that's going to be holding up the missile launcher also has a couple of bits of sprue on it. And last but not least, the viewfinder is the worst one. It's the only piece in the kit that's really got a bad mold line on it, so you're going to have to clean that up too. Missile launcher is, once again, one that you'll probably want to glue the hands and hand to the gun before gluing the guns and arms onto the shoulders of the model, just because lining it up in such a way that you want it to look proper is important. Now there's this nice little hole on the side of the rocket launcher that you're going to plug the viewfinder into. It fits very easily just in there. So a little dab of glue, and we're going to make that stick. And the arm is going to go into the little almost 3 fingers that are next to that viewfinder. Just nice and easy like so. So you'll see here that we just kind of slides in there, and that will be all it takes to kind of get that ready to go. I'm going to show you once more before we use some glue. Nice and easy. And then, last but not least, we glue it onto the model itself. Put that viewfinder right up to the droid's face. And boom, that is our full squad. Well, all of your different options for the B1 Battle Droids in the base kit for Star Wars Legion. We're also going to take a look and just show you all of the different droids that we have. And yeah, there you go. There are a lot of pieces to each of these individual models, but they are not difficult to put together. So if you're a little bit intimidated by your Star Wars Legion set, don't be. I believe in you. You can get it together. And we're going to have a couple of more videos in the future, so let us know what you'd like to see. If you're having troubles with any of the other Star Wars Legion models, like the Droidicas, we can do a little how-to video for that as well. And we'll see you next time.